If you don't find Minions cute or at least funny, it might be because you haven't watched any of the movies in the Despicable Me franchise. But have you ever wondered, among the 899 yellow creatures, is there at least one female minion? With the announcement of Minions 3, which is set to premiere between 2026 and 2027, this topic has once again started buzzing among fans and within Illumination. We can assure you that many surprises are on the way! Lost female minion. For a long time, there has been speculation about how many minions exist, especially since the first movie showed Gru's lair packed with the small yellow-skinned helpers with 1 or 2 eyes who may have been wearing goggles since they began walking on Earth. Some people even counted the number of minions on the Despicable Me 2 poster, with some suggesting there could be as many as 10,000 servants. However, to clarify this controversy, the film's director and voice actor for the Minions, Pierre Coffin, confirmed in an interview that the current number of minions serving Gru is exactly 899. So maybe you, like me, are wondering, why exactly 899 and not some other number? And that's precisely one of the reasons why the theory about the female minion makes so much sense. The theory suggests that initially, there were not 899, but 900 minions who were bacteria and evolved into beings that inhabit the surface. However, only one of them was female, and the other 899 who now work for Gru are all males. At some point, this female minion got separated from the larger group, and her current location is completely unknown. But why is she no longer with the other yellow beings, and where could she be? Stay calm, because we have all the possibilities lined up to tell you now. Disappearance. According to this perfectly logical theory, when there were 900 minions, one of them was only female. And as you probably know very well, it takes 2 beings of different genders for a species to reproduce and increase in number. The problem is that the female minion, whom we will call Eve, had nothing less than 899 suitors competing for her hand and the chance to be with her. And we know very well what happens when 2 or more minions want the same thing. Everything turns into a huge mess. The detail is that, as the same Pierre Coffin we already mentioned in this video, the difficulty of imagining female minions lies in the fact that all minions are silly and stupid. And that's exactly it. All male minions are indeed very silly, although they have huge hearts. However, this same rule would not apply to the only female minion, as she would possess a much more developed intellect than all the other yellow beings she lived with. For this reason, she never managed to choose any of them to be her partner, as they were all extremely childish, and she didn't feel comfortable with any of them. And it's understandable why. And if you also think it would be amazing to have a female minion in the 3rd movie of the Yellow Beings, comment below, #Eve. So, you can imagine how the only female minion must have felt increasingly lonely despite having so many suitors at her feet. Moreover, as we discussed in our video about all the minions' bosses, we can see that one way or another, all the masters the banana-loving beings had ended up dying because of something they were involved in. Like the case of the dinosaur, the first master they had after coming out of the water. The same thing goes for the pharaoh, whom they accidentally dropped a pyramid on and crushed. Or poor Count Dracula, who turned to ashes after they opened the curtains to celebrate his 357th birthday. After witnessing all these foolish acts by her male counterparts, Eve had to make a drastic decision. For this reason, at some point, the only female minion decided it would be best for her to leave the group of yellow beings and follow a different path from the rest of the group. Missing Eve. If you think about it, this theory really makes sense, because we see that the little yellow beings miss having a female representative in their group, as evidenced in various moments in both the Despicable Me and Minions movies. For example, when Stuart travels with Bob and Kevin to find a new master around the world, he stops next to a yellow fire hydrant as if it were a female of his species. And later, when Bob becomes the King of England, we see him once again with the fire hydrants, this time in the palace bathtub.
Ah, Claire. Tiffany.
Moreover, in several moments throughout the movies, we see many minions dressed as women to go to the supermarket, the mall, or just to pick up Gru from school, as if they were his relatives. All these scenes show that the little yellow beings are indeed attracted to females of their species, if they existed, of course. In fact, we even see in Despicable Me 4 that one of the now AVL agents is on a dating site and finds a female version of his species. But soon we see it's a prank by another minion creating a fake profile, which is quite common on such sites. Not to mention the many double entendres they make among themselves, as if they were females, even though they're not. The fact is, it's more than proven that yes, minions are attracted to female minions. The detail is that so far none of them have actually been shown on screen in any of the franchise's movies, at least not yet. Because, as we mentioned at the beginning of the video, it's confirmed that Illumination is already working on Minions 3, and the movie is set to be released between 2026 and 2027. And it could very well be in this movie that we see Eve's story, and, who knows, her reappearance being told. And we have the perfect story about how all this would happen. But before we tell it, if you're not already subscribed, click the button below and subscribe now! Minions 3. From our experience with the first 2 Minion movies, we know that where one movie ends, the next begins. And as we know very well, in the second movie we saw that Knuckles was alive, and he reunited with his pupil, Gru. At the same time, we have to say that the Minions have been a part of Gru's life since he was a child until now, with him having his family formed and with 4 children. But that doesn't mean they spent all those years by Gru's side, at least not all of them. And that's exactly where the story of Minions 3 can begin. Because as Knuckles trains Gru in the art of villainy more intensely, it means they might need to undergo some kind of intensive training, and for that, they might go to an isolated island in the Pacific where there is a relic carved from a stone that came from the moon that needs to be stolen, but is protected by a tribe that has no contact with humanity. So the old villain takes little Gru on this mission, but of course, it's not possible to take all the servants, so our favorite mini-villain might take Otto to carry his things. Meanwhile, the other minions stay in their master's lair with Dr. Nefario, helping him with whatever he needs to create his inventions as test subjects. However, at a certain point, the main yellow beings, Kevin, Bob, and Stuart, while looking at the photo of the artifact to miss their mini-boss, notice that in the same photo in the background, with some difficulty, you can see Eve, the only female minion, trapped in a place with wooden bars made by the tribe that owns the sacred relic. At that moment, they go to the airport and steal a small plane to go after Eve and rescue her from the savages who are holding her captive. When they arrive, they find Gru and Knuckles tied up at the edge of the island's volcano, because when the duo was about to steal the relic, they were captured by the tribe members and ended up discovering Eve's presence on the island, learning about the existence of Minion number 900, and also knowing that there was always a female version of the yellow beings. However, they realize that Eve is actually much more intelligent than the common minions and is considered a goddess by the tribe, whom she manipulates at her own pleasure. And to keep her secret away from the others of her species, to avoid them finding her and pursuing her hand, she would need to throw Gru, Knuckles, and Otto into the volcano, thus erasing any trace of their visit to the island. However, just before they are engulfed by the hot lava, the 3 main minions appear and manage to save the group from certain death. They also see Eve again, but end up choosing to leave since the plane wouldn't have enough fuel for much else. When they return to Gru's lair, they tell the other yellow beings, who then go to the island with Dr. Nefario, Gru, and Knuckles to steal the relic, but find out that the female minion and the relic have already disappeared, and only the savage tribe remained on the island. After that, there is a scene where Eve is wearing a necklace with a piece of the relic hanging from it, dressed very elegantly and entering a huge building right in the middle of a big city. And as the scene pans out, we see that the building Eve is entering is actually the AVL headquarters. Thus, the movie would end, proving that the female minion not only exists, but is extremely intelligent and is directly connected to Gru's recruitment by the Anti-Villain League. And who knows, might even be Lucy's mentor, just as Knuckles is Gru's. And who knows, she might also be the founder of the Mega Minions project. Tell me, wouldn't a story like this be simply amazing to watch? And when I heard that Minions 3 was confirmed, I imagined it would be the perfect chance to get to know the missing female of the species. As we know, you also really enjoy a good animated movie. We've left 2 really cool videos with content made especially for fans like you and me. Check them out and then tell me which one you like the most. Cheers!